Hello, 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 amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. I have a wonderful, beautiful soul in front of me. Her name is Natalie Fernandez, and she is from cross country. And she's an amazing mortgage broker, loan officer. And let me tell you something, especially now where things are changing drastically, it was so important to get her on the podcast because she can tell us everything about the mortgage business and even real estate because she's been doing this for some time, and so she's an expert in her field, and I'm so grateful that we have her here. So Natalie, welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, the pleasure is mine, and I'm so grateful that Linda introduced us. And as I was looking through your feed on Instagram, I'm like, wow, this woman is very dynamic. She needs to be on my podcast. So here you are.
Yes.
So I'm excited. So Natalie, for those of people out there, the audience that may or may not know who you are, I always like to take my guests back in time. I think it's so important to find out where you're from, and because it always leads to where you are today.
Mhm.
And so if you could share with us, your familiar background, like where are you from? Are you originally from California? I mean, I get so many guests from all parts of the world, so I'm always interested, and I know my audience is always interested to find out where my guest is from. So tell us, where are you from, Natalie?
Native Californian, born in Orange County, and basically raised in Orange County. I'm an OC girl.
Oh, see, girl.
Yes. But I do most of my loans everywhere else besides Orange County, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, we got to get into that a little
Yeah.
bit. But before we do, so let me just tell us, your last name is Fernandez. Are you Latina?
I'm
Like,
a güerita.
güerita,
Everyone
güerita.
thinks I speak Spanish, but it's actually my husband. He's actually first generation here.
Okay.
His family's from Zacatecas. In fact, his parents right now are in Zacatecas. They go every year in October because they have like a ranch out there and
Yeah.
gotta check up on the property and all of that. So, yeah, so I am actually a lot Native American from the Sioux tribe. Yes.
Shut up.
And fun fact, my dad, God rest his soul, grew up on an Indian reservation in North Dakota.
No way.
Yes, it's
Oh, this
crazy.
is so exciting. Oh my
Yes.
God. Now I'm like more interested.
Yes.
So tell me. So, okay, so he grew up in a reservation. Did you ever experience living in a reservation or have any insights of living over there, or you just heard stories?
I just heard stories. So
Okay.
my dad, I mean, they're from California, but my dad grew up poor. He was one of 8 kids. And like, I know at points in his life, like he had holes in his shoes and like he said that they split like a penny candy, like just for like dinner, like all of them, they were so poor. So they had to go to the reservation and live out there for a good portion of their life because it was free. So, yes. And so that was, a crazy point in his life, obviously, and all of that. But, it taught him, gave him a great foundation. Like later on, you live, um, you basically, when you go through things in life, you know what I mean? It makes you who you are today.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So obviously at some point, he, I don't know if your parents got married or how did that happen?
Oh yeah. So my eventually when my dad got older, right, he moved back to California with some of his brothers, and my dad was actually in a band with his brothers. My dad played guitar, and his brother was a singer and a drummer. I think their cousin was a drummer, and my mom was kind of like a groupie and met him that way, which is kind
Oh,
of funny.
wow.
Yes.
That is so cool. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And so now they're in California. Are they in OC at this time, or whereabouts are they?
So, I mean, my dad passed away about, it's going on 6 years in December. But my mom lives with us. So when my dad passed away, we moved her in with us, my
Oh, I
husband and
see.
I.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay, so tell us about your experience in the OC because as you were saying that a lot of the business is outside of OC, but OC is a very thriving county. I mean, look,
Yes.
we even have the Orange County Housewives.
Yes. I was at a wedding last night and there was a housewife there. Orange
No
County Housewife.
way.
Yes.
No, which
She was
one?
only on one season, but she was
Oh,
there as a
oh,
wedding guest.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always wondered, I'm like, it's like 6 degrees of separation. I know someday, somehow, I will meet someone who knows someone.
Yes.
So, being in Orange County, growing up there, is your husband also from Orange County?
Yeah, he's from Anaheim.
Okay. How did you both meet? Because I know you guys work together, so I want to like set the scene.
Yes. So we met at Wells Fargo Bank. I was a teller and he was a banker. And so basically, we always dated and stuff like that and then circled back later on in life. So which was interesting. We always just stayed friends. And I went from the banking side to mortgage right away. He stuck with banking for quite some time.
Okay.
And then we got together, we had our first child, and then I told him, I said, you know what? Like, you can only make so much money, as a bank manager. Why don't you try mortgage because you're an entrepreneur? The sky's the limit. And so he was like, all right. And I'm like, but I don't want to work on a team. I don't know how it's going to work. We're always together at home. Maybe go try it somewhere else. So he went to actually a different company. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of, like stupid that we're working at two different places. Let's brand it as Team Fernandez.
Well,
So
yeah.
then, yeah. So for about 6 years now, we've been Team Fernandez, husband and wife, loan officer team.
Yeah, it's challenging to work with your husband. And
Yes.
I've had certain guests and they've had ebb and flows like in life, because it's like it doesn't end in the business. It's like it still carries on to your personal life.
Yeah.
Like how have you managed? Because I know with me, my family, my parents for some point started working together at the restaurant business and I'm like, oh my God, and then coming home and having to deal with the same man. you know it could be a bit precocious, a bit
Yeah.
tenuous, right? So
Yes.
how do you guys manage that work life balance, considering that you're both entrepreneurs, you have your business together, and then you got to come home and be parents and
Yes.
spouses.
Yes. It's crazy. Well, after our third child, and he's one right now, it's been a lot different. When we had just our two older children, which are 10 and 7 right now, we were always together, out and about, marketing with each other. And now it's a little bit more separate, like because we have a young child. We're both now not out in the field as much, more just stuck at our desk. So he has his own office. I have my own office. And literally, like, we don't really talk during much. We're always on our laptop during the day. And then at nighttime, after the kids are asleep, we kind of circle back about everything. Oh, here's what's going on with this loan, or here's what's going on with this agent and stuff. And we catch up at nighttime.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So your team. So that to me makes me believe that you have people working underneath you.
Yes.
So how many people do you guys have working underneath you?
So we have about four. So we have a couple loan officers, and then we have our processor, and then our assistant.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so let's take us through the mortgage industry because I know a lot of realtors, a lot of mortgage brokers, and they all have their own different ways of managing and handling business, right? And some have like their blueprint. Do you have like, okay, this is a blueprint that every team member must follow? Do you have something like that? Or you have your team members and you're not like one of those bosses that are on like micromanager kind of boss. Like, do you have like a blueprint where you just let your team member just move through that?
So if they're loan officers that are under us, it kind of depends on their level, right?
Mm.
So at one point, we had a very seasoned loan officer under us, and we're like, just do what you're gonna do, right? But if they're brand new, I am very hands-on and helping develop them. Even if they get somebody that's wanting to buy a house and they're super new, I might take over on the phone call or on the meeting so they can learn the questions that I'm asking and stuff, so I could help discover what needs that client needs and stuff and put them in the correct product, because there's so many products out there, right? So that's how they learn. I actually help even real estate agents. Like I could be a realtor. Like I've been doing this for so long, for about 16 years now. I know contracts, all of that. So one of my favorite people to work with are brand new realtors because I actually help them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You become like a mentor to them.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that in your business you're going to have not only just the mortgage side, but also the real estate side to it?
Yeah, so I'm actually studying to get my license for real
Oh,
estate. Yes.
see?
Yes. It only
Yeah,
took
well,
me 16 years, you know?
I think it works well. I mean,
Yes.
it's like you can't do one without the other.
I know. It's crazy for sure.
I have
It's smart.
yeah, no, I have a girlfriend who has that. Like she's a broker, and then she also has a mortgage side to it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, she's been able to develop this amazing business. And I'm like, you know, leave it to these amazing amigas out there who are like hustling and making shit happen. And I
Yes.
know that adding this to your suite of services, there's sky is the limit in
Yes.
terms of what you can do.
Literally.
Literally.
Branch off, get your own escrow company, become a realtor, become a loan officer, get in with the, appraisal companies. I mean, the sky is literally the limit, seriously.
Yeah, it's like
Insurance, life
yes,
insurance,
life
hand
and
in hand.
everything,
Yes.
everything. And it's like you even like can do the trust, make sure
Trust.
that there's estate planning a component in there too. I mean,
Yes.
yes, the sky's the limit. So why go elsewhere when it's a
Yes.
one-stop shop, right?
100%.
And especially like if you're a newbie. For
Yeah.
instance, like as a newbie, you have no idea what you're doing. You're just like, oh, who do I even contact first? So my thought is that you contact your mortgage broker, right?
Mm-hmm.
To see whether you qualify for a loan.
Yes.
Okay, so just
Yes.
walk us through like two different scenarios. One is being the newbie, and then a seasoned investor. Like, how do you go about with getting their business? Like, is there like something that like the must do to start purchasing a property? Like, are there any must do? Like, I know I remember for when I bought my house, it was like you got to get first a qualifying letter, and I'm like, what the fuck is a
Yeah,
qualifying?
you're like, what is that? Yes.
I'm like, I'm a lawyer. That stuff doesn't even like what a contract. What? So walk us through like the two different scenarios. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So if you're a first-time home buyer, so say a realtor's like, I have this first-time home buyer, the first thing right now, especially with the rates being so high and homes being so expensive, I ask them what are they comfortable paying per month if they were to own a house and had a monthly mortgage. And you would be shocked at some, people even buying in Orange County, they're like, oh, I would like a $2,500 a month payment. I'm like, that's like just not possible, like at all, you know? So for me, I always turn that into a positive, maybe 2,500. Let's try to increase it a little bit to 3,000, and then let's go look in the IE or something. You know what I mean? For now, as a starter home, and then it's not their forever home, right? So
Right.
they could at least get their starter home, they could sell that home, and eventually they could move to Orange County or LA County or something. Or, who knows, keep that property, use that equity, and utilize it for the next. So I always tell my first time home buyers, like, you are going to become real estate rich. This is not going to be the first time you're going to buy a house. You're going to love it. You're going to become addicted and you're going to become an investor, right?
Mhm.
So, but yes, as a first time home buyer, that is like the first question that I ask, because a lot of times that people get misinformed through online. So if you go to like Zillow and you're like, oh, I want to buy this house for, 700,000, and the monthly mortgage is showing like 2,500 bucks or 3,000 a month. That's so not true. Zillow puts like a very large down payment and the property taxes are way off and there's no PMI or whatever it is, right? So it's just a lot more expensive. So it's always good to speak with a human, because some people are just misinformed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Another that, so I remember as a practicing attorney, when I would have clients come in and they would tell me like, "Oh yeah, I bought this house. This is a divorce. I bought this house." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Bring the lead, the deed to the home, blah blah blah." And then it's somebody else's name on it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and then there's a loan on there too.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Like, you're saying you own this house, but yet you're not on title."
Yeah.
And then and the mortgage is somebody else's name. What the heck? I'm like, there's just so much disinformation out there. And I feel like there has to be more education. There has to be more
There's,
education.
it's crazy. Speaking of, I just ran into a circumstance where the parents died. And so one of my agents was going to list the home, and then they pulled title, and the parents put two 16-year-olds on title. So they legally couldn't like sell the house until they were 18. It was like crazy.
Oh shoot.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then the tax ramifications of that.
Yeah.
That little, oh my God. No, I know. It's so important to do things the right way.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that there's people like you who are educating individuals, saying like, listen, if you can't afford it, we're not going to even touch this subject.
Yes.
Let's go with what you can pay. And then
Yes.
we go that way. And then later on, you build your equity and then you start purchasing another investment. So let's move on to that, because I feel like because you touched it, I think it would be important for those people who buy a house, have equity. What would be the next asset for that person? Is it to keep the house and buy an investment property? What's your advice?
Oh, my advice, always keep real estate. I know some realtors that are listening to this, if they're listening, they're like, sell the house, right? But I really think that real estate is king. I feel like we're running out of room, right? And there's just not enough supply out there. So if you can keep the house, rent is going up like crazy. It's just great cash flow. It's a great investment. You know what I mean? So I always say, if you can keep it, and if you need to pull equity out of there, you can pull equity and then buy your next house. You know what I mean? So my real estate home ownership journey is, my husband and I, when we were young, we moved in with his mom, and I got to learn their culture. She doesn't even speak English. So I
Oh,
really got to learn their culture, got to cook the food, all of that. But anyways, we lived there for free, and we saved up for our first house, and bought our first house with a minimum down payment, bought that house, and that one skyrocketed, because that was, I don't know how long ago, it was a long time ago, right? And so it just went way up. And then we sold it, which I totally regret, because I still look at it to this day, and it's like, oh my gosh, that would have been such a great investment.
yeah.
So anyways, I sold it. We bought our home here in Orange County. It's our forever home. Okay, so now that we had this one, we took a home equity line of credit out of this one. We bought a property in Big Bear, and we bought a property in Apple Valley. So, and those cash flow like amazing. And we utilized our equity. We didn't have to dip into our savings, and it really helped us. Now we're considered investors, right? So it's just super smart if you can afford it, right? Which we could, because we have the equity here that we pulled out, but guess what? We're renting out the other two properties. So those two properties are paying for the equity line that we pulled out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Which is It's amazing. I always wondered, I'm like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, just get a home equity line of credit. And I'm like, come again?
Yeah.
Is our like versus like our mortgage rate is like 3%. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hella cheap, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, in comparison to right now, it's what, six,
Yeah. It's
right?
around six.
Double,
Yeah.
double. And
Double.
so I'm like, okay, so your advice would be like, oh, pull the do a home line equity or would line
Yeah.
of credit, right?
Yeah.
And but the interest rate would be how much now? Would it
Well,
be
right
different?
now it's based off the prime rate.
Mhm.
So that means it's high, right? I think the prime rate starts at like 8.5, or maybe 8.75, somewhere around there. The Feds just cut them, so maybe 8.5.
Yeah.
And then you have add-ons, just depending, right? But the home equity lines, they're interest only. And as the Feds start cutting the rates, which we know they've already cut them once,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to start cutting them as long as inflation is, being okay. Right
Yeah.
now, we had a bad last report last week, but as inflation is getting tackled, they're going to start cutting the rates, and guess what goes down? Your home equity
Um,
line of credit. So your
oh,
payment will go down. So then you can start chunking it off and paying more towards principal. So
okay.
the numbers just have to make sense, right? So
Right.
if you're going to buy an investment property, you would want to cash flow. It's hard to cash flow right now in California. So maybe targeting out of state. So I lend in all 50 states, which is
Mm,
awesome.
yeah.
And a lot of places out of state, you can cash flow, right? So if you're cash flowing and you pull money out of a home equity, that cash flow can help pay off that home equity line of credit, right?
Yeah.
And it's just smart because then, your mortgage is paid for on your investment and your HELOC is paid for by your investment. So it's a win-win situation.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, does that also work well with like let's say international properties?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hearing the cash flow on international properties is amazing, right? And so what a lot of people are doing right now is they're like, it's hard to cash flow, and out of the country, you can cash flow. So a lot of people are utilizing their equity in their homes here in the United States, and they're buying around the world.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. And my family, we're considering that. So it's quite impressive what you can do with what you already have.
Yeah.
So then you become an investor. Like this is like once you buy your house, you
Mm-hmm.
pull it out, pull the homeland equity, and then you start investing from one property to another, to another, to another. At some point, you become this like amazing investor, right? And then you don't even need that. Like I see, we use other people's money. They say, right? What is it? Other people money. It's OPP or no OPM.
Yeah.
OPM, right? Other people's money. So,
Yes.
wow, this is fantastic. So, okay, so you were talking about the rates coming down. I
Yes.
know that we had the federal rate that came down, but that does necessarily correlate with mortgage rates. Is that
No.
correct?
No, mortgage rates, I mean, it does in a way, but mortgages react to news and to the 10-year treasury, right?
Mhm.
And mortgage-backed securities. So they're not necessarily reacting to when the Feds cut the rates, but more of the news that the Feds are going to cut the rates, right?
Oh,
So the interest rates right now are a little bit higher after the Feds cut the rates. And that's because the rates reacted a long time ago, let's say like in August or early September before they cut the rates, they already reacted. So when the Feds only cut the rates a 0.5%, the mortgages were like, oh, we thought it was going to be more. So then the rates went up, the mortgage rates, which is kind of crazy. And I was literally bombarded that day, bombarded by like everyone. They're like, the Feds cut the rates. Can I refinance my house? And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, you guys don't understand, the rates are higher. Yeah, and it's not time yet. Everyone was like, "Oh, I heard the Feds cut the rates to like 4%." I'm like, "What?" No.
I don't think if they'll ever go back to those rates of 3 and 4.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
unless
I mean,
something really crazy happens, right?
yeah, we
Like
have to have
COVID.
like a
Yeah.
black swan event again.
Yes.
some sort of black swan event to move that cycle. Um,
Yes.
and especially because the home prices are ludicrous. And as you were
Ludicrous.
saying in the beginning, is because the supply is so low
Mm-hmm.
and demand is still so high, and people want to live in California. I don't know why. I mean, I
Yeah.
do know why for the weather, but the way life is going right now, I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna find a place in Italy when I get out of here.
Yes.
I mean,
I want to.
it's
Seriously.
it is like everything is so well, we can get into the politics of things, but that's not for here.
So
But
crazy. Yeah.
it's so crazy. So now, what advice do you give for, you know, that person that wants to buy another house? They already have one, but as you know, the rates went up. Like, should we
Yeah.
wait until the rates go down, or do we just buy and hope that we can refinance later on?
Yeah. I mean, if you can afford it, buy. Always buy. I mean, look at the supply versus the demand. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's only unfortunately going to get worse, right? There's so many people just sitting on 2% mortgages or 3% mortgages. It's like, why would they sell? You know what I mean? I had someone that was going to list his house and buy a beautiful property in Marietta and Riverside. And I mean, this is like 4 acres, horse stables, chicken coops, like kind of like you're living out of state, but you're still here in California.
Yeah.
And last minute, he's like, Natalie, I had a change of heart. I want to keep my house. Like it's a 2.6 rate and it's in Chino Hills. It's beautiful. Like I found a renter for $4,400 a month. And mind you, his payment's 2,300. Like, and I'm like, and I had to like scramble and redo his loans. And what did we do? With the funds is we're doing a home equity line of credit and that's going to help with his down payment on his house. So I'm really excited for them, their little growing family and doing this, but they made the right decision. I told them to begin with, I'm like,
Don't
don't sell
sell.
it.
Don't
It's such a
sell.
beautiful house, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that's why if you can buy, buy because everyone is trying to keep as much real estate as they can, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for us, I'm like, I don't see us selling this place just because, I mean, they were just saying to us that Corso is gonna do another Grove kind of thing over on this side, like really close to us. I'm like,
Hmm.
why would I sell?
Yeah.
And especially if our mortgage is 3%, like it's kind of crazy,
Yeah.
right? So, all right. So tell us, is there something that you want our audience to know about you and your services that we haven't talked about it now here and thus far?
Yeah, well, I specialize in first-time homebuyer programs, 0% down. My husband does a lot of ITIN loans, and he's done ITIN loans with very low down payment, which is nice. He's also done ITIN loans that are stated income, which is kind of crazy. So you don't have to show income as long as you have the down payment, which is nice. And then what I've been doing a lot lately is like investor loans. I mean, I have a lot of investor clients. They want to flip properties and stuff like that. And I have loans that are better than hard money loans that are a lot cheaper for them.
Mm.
And they can keep the loan if they want to keep it. So sometimes investors get a change of heart and they don't want to sell the property, right? And so this loan that I put them in, they can actually keep it and it's at a good interest rate and stuff. So,
Oh yeah. Oh my
yeah.
God. There's just so many ways of doing things, right?
Yes, there is. That's why I really believe experience matters. You know what I mean? I'm not the same loan officer I was 16 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have so many different things thrown at my plate and stuff, and it's really fun. It's something that I love doing. I was going to college and I started in loans, and that back in the day there was no like online like uploading your documents. I was going to school and then going to work and literally copying like paper files, like thick stacks, and just scanning them in because everything was like paper back then, you know?
Yeah.
And I knew this was something that I wanted to do and I loved, and so I stuck with it. And I'm just very experienced, so I'm not scared of anything. Like I just had someone right now, oh, I was doing a refinance and I'm getting declined because my disability is not going to continue for another 3 years. And you can find loopholes and stuff. And it's all
Mhm.
about connections,
Right.
and different connections that you have with different brokers and stuff like that, where you can get a lot done. So don't take no for an answer if you're
Yeah.
trying to get a loan or a unique loan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're the gal to do this. I'm so excited that you're here with us. So, amigas, we are wrapping up here. I always ask my guests if they could provide one or two tips on how an amiga handles her shit. Why don't you tell us your tips for us?
Oh, easily. I live, me and my husband, we run multiple businesses. We have three little kids that are in sports, homework, I mean, just everything. And nowadays with school, there's like an app for everything and you got to keep up. And on top of that, work. So, every day I get up early and I practice gratitude. I
Mm.
have my moment. Um, I thank God for all of my blessings. I get up early and I have my moment to myself. You got to give yourself gratitude first so you can be peaceful throughout the day with other people, right? And I live by the motto faith, family, finance, which is work, fitness, which is super important, and fun. You got to have fun and
Mhm.
fun doing all of that, right? So I enjoy the process. I enjoy, going to work. I enjoy working out. I enjoy being with my family. You know what I mean? So all of that is something that I live by like every day, and I review and I journal too as well.
Oh, wow. This is fantastic and so important. I know that I meditate every day and pray, obviously. Um, and I could totally tell when I'm like going like you know, what is it, 1,000 miles per hour,
Hmm.
and if I didn't do my gratitude or my prayer, I know I feel it. I'm like, okay, you're going 1,000 miles per hour because you didn't pause
Hmm.
in the beginning of the day
Yeah.
and get centered and start praising God for just waking up. Like,
Yes.
I mean, how simple that is, but yet there are so many people out there that can't even like wake up and breathe normally.
Hmm.
So the fact that I can breathe normally and
Yes.
I can wake up and see my child, I mean, these are little small things that add on, they compound. And so it's important to address them at the beginning of the day so that it can run smoothly, right?
Yes. It's so important.
Yes, I love this. Faith, family, finance, fitness, fun.
Yes.
Well, I love this, amiga. I can't wait to meet you in person. I know,
Yes.
I we all have busy lives, but I wish you so much luck, and I wish you like when next conversation you're gonna be a realtor.
Yes,
Yes,
right? It would
yes.
be so cool.
Sky is the limit, girl. You stated it here, so that's what's gonna happen. So, how can people find you before we leave? How can they?
Oh, my Instagram, Natalie Fern underscore mortgage.
Okay. And
Yes.
then they can DM you and you'll like fast response.
Oh yeah, like lightning. I'm on
Pronto.
it.
Prontissimo.
Yes.
Well, this is beautiful, Natalie. I don't know if you is there anything you'd like to tell us before we head out?
I think we covered a lot, right? I had so much fun.
Well, I love having you here. I'm so grateful for your presence here with us and I can't wait for us to meet in person
Yes.
and maybe do business,
Let's
right?
do it. Let's do business. Let's do lunch. Let's definitely meet up.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Amiga. Thank
Thank
you for being
you.
here on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you.